Good afternoon, Cleveland. It's 3:20 p.m. on this beautiful Saturday on April 16th. This is the day the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. I'm your host, Caleb Hicks, youth counselor with the family ministry of PBC, and I'm coming to you live from Providence Baptist Church. The church has been established since 1921, and we have been serving the community for 100 years. Yes, we've been around for a long time, I know. Our senior pastor is Roddy Maiden, and he is an amazing man of God. This month is Sexual Assault Awareness Month, and we are giving our support on this Sunday, April 17th, by providing vital information at both locations. The Life Development Center, which is located at Euclid Heights, 2411 Rockwell Drive, and 12712 Kinsman Road. In reference to the Bible, my people perish because of lack of knowledge. This is why we want to give the community the resources and the knowledge to bring awareness on this important subject. I believe sexual assault awareness is important because we are all made in God's image, and none of us deserve to experience something like this. To further elaborate on this topic and on the things that we are doing at the church for Denim Day, I'm going to pass the mic to my co-host, Mwanda.
Hi. Thanks, Caleb.
No problem.
Hi, my name is Mwanda Berry Wheatley, and I am a counselor at Providence Baptist Church, a part of the family ministry. And just to tag along on to what you said about recognizing Sexual Awareness Month, there's a day that's celebrated in April, and it's the second Wednesday of April, and it's called Denim Day. And Denim Day came about in 1998 when a young 18-year-old female was with her driving instructor who was 45 years old. He raped her. And a year later, the courts overturned the sentencing for this predator because he ruled that this 18-year-old gave consensual sex because she helped take off her tight jeans. And I just think that just delivered a whole message to the world that it's okay. But in reality, it's not okay. So we're here to just let people know that help is available. You have the opportunity and the resources that will be given to you to reach out and get the help that you need. And now I want to just turn it over to my co-host, Ruth, who will be explaining a little bit more what we're going to be talking about today.
Well, the pressure is certainly on. I want to thank Caleb and Mwanda for being here and being a part of the family ministries. I am Ruth Johnson Williams. I am the assistant ministry leader, and in absence of my leader, Julius Avery Hart, who is not here, but we're certainly glad to have the team with us today. Providence Baptist Church Family Ministry seeks to educate, inform, and equip the church and the community on issues that are hard to talk about, and that's what we're here for today. Today I have with me Aaron Lee and Katrice Sims. They are also part of the family ministry, and they'll tell you a little bit about that themselves. Just so you'll know, we know that sexual assault is something that we all should be aware of. And I just kind of remember back in the day, so that tells you where I'm coming from. We used to get sex ed in school. They used to have sex education in school. They used to talk about it. And then when it was no longer in the school, we were talking about it at home. And then we were no longer talking about it at home, and now we talk about it amongst one another. Unfortunately, I was born and raised in a Christian home, and so we didn't talk about it. At the age of 13, I was taken off the street in broad daylight, and unfortunately, I experienced my first acquaintance with sex was rape. Sex should be introduced at various levels, from acquaintance to casual to intimate, and that should be with people that you know, love, and trust, and have a preferably a biblical relationship with. But Katrice and Aaron are going to tell us a little bit about today. That was yesterday. Today is a different day, and that's why we're here. So I'm going to first start with Katrice. And Katrice, can you tell us a little bit about what parents think about some of the sexual assault awareness issues that you know that they face?
Thank
from
you.
Your perspective.
From my perspective, I want to talk about sexting. Sexting is any time that you send nude pictures by DM or texting on a cell phone. And it's not just nude pictures, it can be emojis as well as pictures that kids make, anything sexually inappropriate. So what we need to know about that as parents is that sometimes kids, when you are under 18 and you send an inappropriate picture to a child under 18, even though you're under 18 yourself, that is still considered a crime. And these crimes are punishable up to 12 years in jail. Your child can also be asked to register on the sex offender website. I actually know of a 15-year-old child right now who is facing this. They're looking at giving him 20 years on a sex offender website. And I don't think kids quite know the severity of this. Sometimes they think it's just funny. You know, if I'm 12 years old and I have a 12-year-old friend and there's an emoji that's something inappropriate and I send it to the friend, it's innocent. But that's why, as parents, we need to sit down and really talk to our children so that they understand that this is not innocent. Kids do things behind our backs all the time, but this is definitely one of those things that we need to sit down and have a firm conversation with them, and that they truly understand the consequences. And if a child is asked to register on the sex offender website for 20 years, they need to understand that they cannot live near a school, they cannot get a job, and you don't want to mess up your life at the age of 12 years old and not able to get yourself together till you're 32. So it's very important as parents that we sit down with our children as educators, as social workers, as aunties, as uncles, whatever children are in your life under 18, they need to understand that they cannot send inappropriate pictures to anyone. And even if they are the same age, you will still get in trouble because that is still considered a crime for sending inappropriate pictures to a minor.
So, Katrice, that sounds like something that should be of concern on every parent's heart and mind. At the time that I had my incident I incurred my incident with being raped at 13, that was without consent. And it sounds like the young children nowadays are giving consent. For sexual acts that are inappropriate, and they're getting legal consequences for those acts. And so it's important that a parent is aware of the consequences of those actions, and not just leave it up to the child, because that's the decision that they make. And so, even in hearing that, Aaron, let's talk to you a little bit about your perspective on what are some of the issues that pertain to youth and young adults.
Hey everybody, my name is Aaron Lee. In my perspective, to be honest, a lot of youth, people from the ages of 30 to about 20, 25, even younger than that, they understand what sexual assault is. They know it's bad, and they think automatically it's like rape and molestation, which it is. However, when people in my generation, they come into a relationship and they have sex and they're not taught the real deepness about how sex can affect people, they go from partner to partner, not knowing that they're damaging themselves, you know. And kind of like you said about just the education of the child when they grow up. A lot of people get their information about sex from TV shows, from especially our music in our day and age now, sadly. But I remember a lot of things I went through and still kind of go through sexually. It's hard for me to deal with certain things because I know I haven't been taught on it throughout my life. So a lot of people in my generation, they don't want to deal with molestation or anything else like that, but they never got taught correctly, you know. And that's one of the things that the church, they, failed to teach their kids, you know. A lot of kids, when they have a relationship and when they have, even marriage, and when they grow up in marriage, they look for happiness, you know. And that's not the main cause for marriage. It's not to be happy. It's really to do God's will, you know. It's not really to expand God's kingdom, you know, in that perspective. And they don't know that, you know. So whether it's dating or marriage, wherever the case may be, they just don't know, you know. from a youth perspective, and they get into these toxic relationships, you know what I'm saying, and can lead to further and deeper things as molestation, rape, or something like that. I know a lot of people who've been raped, because they was feeling some type of way. They wanted to get some or whatever the case may be, and they just didn't know. So it's a lot that goes into it, but lack of education.
And your age, you're speaking on the age on behalf of how old?
I say from 30 to about 15, actually. But from 30 to
15 to 30.
Yeah, 15 to 30. Yeah.
15 to 30, and we're still talking about effects of rape that could take and molestation that take place from younger, 0 to 15. You see, because trauma will stay with you and have an effect on you throughout your life. Well, let's have a little conversation, open conversation about that. Mwanda, there was something you wanted to add?
So, and listening to you speak, would you say that between the age of 15 and you said 22?
30.
15 and 30, do you think more so for the high school kids I'm speaking of, do you think not only are they not educated, but also do you think they take it lightly, meaning I'm a minor, it's not going to affect me in the long run, they're going to forget about what I did as a kid?
Yes.
Does that carry a lot of weight on their thinking, their actions, on top of being not educated, or is it just something that they just take as a joke? I mean, if you don't know, you don't know.
Right.
But because, like you said, we have social media out here, we have the news, and we can go to any child that's in school for the most part, they can bring back the whole news broadcast to us. So they're hearing this stuff.
Right.
So do you think, in your opinion, is it something that they're overlooking because of their age instead of the reality that this could, even though you're a minor, this is what's going to happen to you, and this is a long-term effect?
I believe that, I think they just follow the trends. That's the main thing nowadays, especially in American society. We follow trends. We follow the wave, that people call it, what people doing. So when you getting approached by somebody or your friends or your cousin or whatever the case may be, and they doing it, you don't want to feel alone. Nobody want to feel alone. As far as the youth, especially a person who's 15, 16, 17, they don't want to feel alone. So I'm gonna do what my friends do, and a lot of things I did because I followed my friends. You know what I'm saying? So it's about influence and who you around. Picking friends right, because if not, you're gonna get sucked into a lifestyle that 20 years down the line is toxic. And from a spiritual standpoint, could invite demonic influence on people. That can lead to rape or molestation. You know what I'm saying? So it's just all about influence and who you around. The Bible says, bad character or bad morals corrupt good characters. And it corrupts people. The people you're around. So that's my take on it.
Let me just add a little bit about that and bring it back over to Katrice from the parent standpoint, because not generally, but typically, young adults, youth and young adults are not just going to have a round table conversation, say, Mom, this happened to me. Being raped at 13, I did not tell it until I was 23, but at 15. Because sexual assault opens, not just sexual assault, but sex in itself opens the door for me to do other things. And actually, it grows you up really fast. Okay, so now that we're 13 and now we're 15, and I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to get somebody that's a little bit older, because then they'll probably protect me, or they'll make sure that I'm safe and whatever. So we have our mindset about why we get the next person, whether it's money, sometimes sexual contact becomes a commodity now. It's not a value to me anymore. I'll give you this if you give me this. And so we tend to give away what's of value because we don't know what's of value, because it's been taken from us as a value. So at 15, I went and found the baddest boy in school, 18, in his own apartment, and I thought, this is the guy that knows everybody, nothing's gonna happen to me. And I proceeded to his apartment, and in that apartment, there was nothing there but total darkness, and I went to engage in sex with him. And then what happened? The door, he left out, and he came back, he left out, and then the door opened 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, 6 times. The door opened. 6 different men, 18 to 25, I was 15. Why? Because you don't know that the people that you think you trust are really people that can be trusted. Well, how did I know that he was going to set me up to be raped by his friends? You don't know what your friends are going to do. And so this is in the matter of parents. How do we now help our children understand that they're abnormal? First, we as parents and the church need to understand kids believe that they're abnormal. What they're seeing, what they know in their groups and their peers is now their norm. It's now my norm to do what the group does. It's now my norm to allow myself to be touched early and inappropriately. And we're not thinking about marriage or church or the pastors. So what is we saying about, as parents in the church, how are we helping youth, even before youth and young adults, address this issue? I'm going to give Katrice a little bit about that, and then we're going to come back to Mwanda.
Well, one of the things when Aaron was talking, I'm a counselor at Providence, and I'm also a social worker, and so I work with a lot of kids who have been sexually abused. And one of the things is when you are being sexually abused, the predator is not always going to throw you down, jump on top of you, and rape you. Some of these men actually court kids like they're a woman. So he'll take her out, let's go to the movies, let's do this, and do kid stuff with this person. And sex, that the child will actually enjoy it. So then that child has not learned to value her body. So she goes around, and then so sometimes when you see these young girls and they're promiscuous, some of them have been raped at an early age, they enjoyed it, and they haven't been taught that my body is a temple. So that's just one of the things that I wanted to bring up. But also, as parents, we definitely have to sit down and talk to your kids about everything. If they ask you a question, I don't care how embarrassing it is or what, you sit down and you talk to that child. If you see something on TV, we're having this podcast, let your children see this podcast. If you have a daughter, because I have friends that I grew up with. I had a girl that I was friends with, and she was very promiscuous, and we would all sit and talk about her. But later on in life, we found out she was raped early. So, at once I became a social worker and everything, you realize that some of those kids that were doing stuff young actually had a bad upbringing they didn't know. So if you have a daughter and she's out here doing whatever, sit down and talk to her. She may not want to tell you why she's doing the things that she's doing. And that goes for boys as well.
Again, our abnormal is our normal because they're being touched at home. For somebody else to touch them, we're setting them up to be victims. Because now if you're touching me at home or you're allowing someone in the family to touch me, that abnormal becomes my norm, and it's okay for someone else to touch me because I'm used to that coming from the home and other environments.
And I want to also add to, yes, I think it's a parent's responsibility to educate our kids because I'm a parent as well. But I also believe the church needs to get involved. And that means not only putting resources out, because we know the average kid is not going to come and pick up a flyer and say, let me sit down and read this. That means some other way we need to reach them and engage them in conversation, engage them in activities to let them know, okay, this is okay, but this is not okay. And again, most kids are not going to come home and talk to their parents. So I believe that as a parent, find somebody that kid will talk to, whether it be your best friend, whether it be an uncle, whether it be an aunt, whether it be your pastor, somebody that this kid can open up to and feel comfortable, because they may not come to us because of embarrassment. They may not come to us because they don't want us to get upset or be disappointed in them. But again, that still falls back on education. But it also falls back onto how comfortable does this parent make this kid feel? Because a lot of times when you're indulging in activities that's not normal or that's not right, it's because either the child's self-esteem is low, and like you said, the predator is usually someone that they know, someone that's going to wine, dine, or make them feel good, feel important. So they're going to target that person. They're going to draw to that person. But the bottom line is they have to know, again, their value. They have to know what their body means to them, what their body means to God, what is the body and who the body is for.
Right.
And that goes with education.
Right. And to harp on what you said, Moana, as far as building trust, the church, the parents, friends, family, I work with youth, so I understand how important it is to have that relationship and build that trust, because sex is just not physical, it's spiritual as well. And Ruth, as you said, it opened the door to other things as far as mistrust, because you are trusting somebody with your body, not knowing the outcome and everything else.
Yeah, I think the word popped in my head. Being transparent is one of a great way that I guess parents can relate to their kids, because I wish I had that, a little bit more transparency as far as sexuality and stuff like that. Because when you hear stories of, your parents, 20, 30 years ago going through something, that kind of makes you more apt to be open, as far as like, I'm struggling with something, I need help, and they went through a similar situation. So being transparent is a great way, like just stories like, yeah, I went through this, do this, do that. Because I feel like when you throw the book or the Bible at somebody, they think, oh, okay, it's bad, okay. But I'm going to show you from my past, the parents should say, how it messed me up or whatever the case may be.
So just bringing it back home a little bit, how do we feel that the church can be of some help to youth and young adults, to children and to parents, when it comes to being open and having a conversation about sexual assault awareness? At Providence Baptist Church, with Pastor Rodney Maiden, we know that we're seeking to provide a sexual assault awareness day. That will be Sunday, April 24th, at both locations, and you can find that online at providencebaptistchurch.org. But just tell me a little bit, how do you all feel that the church can be supportive, or parents, or other people in the lives of youth and young adults? How do you think that we can help?
I think personally, we have to get the kids' attention by engaging in what they engage in, which is social media.
Mm-hmm.
We have to connect with them on that level. On top of, I think, having that person-to-person group setting, activity, role play, discussion. Something to engage them and draw them in, that they want to know more. They want to be able to understand what's going on. And when we as the church incorporate Bible scripture, something that they may have never even gotten at home, when we incorporate Bible to them and explain to them, this is right, this is wrong, show them in the Bible, then they will see for themselves. At that point, they can't say that they don't know.
Right.
So I think it's about reaching out to their platform. I think it's group engagement. I don't think it's more so dictatorship, meaning I just get up and speak. Right. We got to engage, and we can role play. We can, whatever it takes to make them say, I want to come back next month and engage in that conversation. It may be a different topic, but we got to get their interest in that platform. It's going to have to start off with social media, because that's what they're doing all day long.
Yeah, and part of that is, like, we have to tell our story so other people can hear your story and they'll tell their story, and then have help there for them.
Right.
But we can't be scared to say sex in the church.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? We can't be scared to talk about sexual assault awareness and things that they need to be aware of, because now they're closed-minded to what is that? They don't even know what that is. Like you're saying. Do you have some closing remarks, Caleb?
Yes. I just want to harp on what Moana was talking about as far as reaching out to the young adults and the youth. I believe we should allow them to come as they are. I think so many times they feel judged before they enter into the building, and we just got to show them with love, because God is love and everything else, and show them that we are engaged with what they are doing and their generation and everything else. So that's my final thoughts.
Okay. You have any final thoughts, Katrice?
I do. And just piggybacking off what you said, I think giving testimonies, and also what Aaron was saying, when somebody get up and give their testimony, that lets a child know you're not the only one who went through this.
Right.
So this person has gone through it. I feel comfortable. She's talking about it in the church. The test that we go through is to help other people. So we don't need to be silent. We need to be open and let people know what we've been through, so that the child feels comfortable coming talking to someone.
Absolutely.
And also, I think you kind of mentioned it as far as we don't say sex in the church. We got to express that sex in the context of marriage is a good thing. We glorify God when we have sex in marriage, And we have to promote that, because I think society deems sex as like a deviant thing, you know, like, and obviously with pornography and all that other stuff, which is bad. But we also got to understand from the other perspective that God created it so it can be intimate with a marriage spouse, you know what I'm saying? And it's glorifying God in the context of a marriage, you know. So we got to tell them the truth, you know, in the church.
Absolutely. Well, you know, we just want to say thank you so much to Aaron and his opinion and your perspective on youth and young adults. And Katrice, certainly we're happy to hear what parents think about the situation as it relates to children and sex education. And Caleb, certainly you just really are important to know ways that we can help youth and young adults as well. And thank you, Mwanda, for those adding in how we can do that in ways of reaching their platform. Aaron, you spoke a little bit about that too. That's why Caleb is here also, so that we can begin at Providence to form new ways to help our youth and young adults, as well as help heal, as Katrice is saying. Once you've come through that, then there has to take a point of open honesty and healing. And so we're just really working on that at Providence Baptist Church. Just know that if you're listening and you're in the audience today, that trauma can affect you, but it doesn't have to define you, and you can move on past that. Right now, even in all that I've experienced, I'm still able to be a assistant leader at Providence Baptist Church. I've been there for over 20-some years, and the ministry for family ministry, for counseling, has been now more than 12 years. Katrice and Mwanda are currently counselors. Aaron and Caleb are coming on board to help us reach the youth and young adult as counselors, and we want to encourage you to definitely, you can give us a call, Providence Baptist Church, 216-991-5315, if you want to be a part of this conversation. The conversation will continue. This is our first series that we're doing on health and education, and we look forward to seeing and talking to everyone again. Thank you so much.
Okay, statistics show sexual assault. Every 9 minutes, a child is victim of sexual assault, which is approximately 160 children sexually assaulted per day. 81% of women and 43% of men have experienced some form of sexual harassment and or assault in their lifetime. 1 in every 5 girls report being solicited for sex on the internet prior to the age of 18. If you are a victim or know someone who has experienced sexual assault, contact the National Sexual Assault Hotline at 1-800-656-HOPE, HOPE. Also, the National Sexual Violence Resource Center has available resources on their blog entitled Online Communities for Survivors, Websites, and Resources offering support and help. Thank you.